Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book Warrior Mom Rising. No other than Miss Jenn Robb.
Hi.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Jen. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I'm Jen. I'm the new author of Warrior Mom Rising. I wrote that book it actually just launched in May on Amazon, but I'm a nurse practitioner by trade. I have three beautiful kids, married to my husband of 25 years, and we live outside of Dallas, Texas.
Miss Jenn Robb, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Defining the warrior mom beyond the title, how do you define a warrior mom? What distinguishes this mindset from a simply being a busy or stressed mom?
So the warrior mom is someone who shows up consistently, but has a very fierce advocate for her child. The book was born out of my own personal walk with my daughter, who was struggling with very severe mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and then ultimately self harm. So, learning how to navigate those and advocate and overcome, and then help not only your daughter or your teen thrive, but helping you thrive as well.
Indeed, thrive each other. What's the pivotal experience or realization that forced you to shift from coping mom to warrior mom, advocating fiercely? What ignited that fire?
Well, I mean, when you have a child that is struggling with mental health, right? Everything is about that child, right? For me personally, my daughter had finally gotten to the point after we had done counseling and we had done some other things for her. But she just decided one day that she was going to try to stop the noise. So the realization is that my two boys found her unresponsive. And so we went to the hospital. Her alcohol level, she had broken into a liquor cabinet, and her alcohol level was four times the lethal limit, not the legal limit, the lethal limit. So it's in that moment that everything becomes about her, right? Trying to keep her alive. She was with me all the time. She went to work with me. She slept with me. Everything was done to protect her. So when you're advocating and you're constantly trying to keep your kid alive, you kind of lose sight and focus of who you are. And so you have to kind of change. And so for me, I have a very strong, deep Christian faith. And so it was kind of a wake up call when we were sitting in the hospital room that I was going to have to fight a little differently with this one.
Why frame motherhood this way? What does viewing it as a strategic battle empower mothers to do what the gentler metaphor might not?
Sometimes as moms, we want to sit back and just kind of let our kids figure things out on their own, especially as they're entering that teen, adolescent phase and early adulthood, right? But
Yes.
in this instance, you couldn't just sit back and let her try to figure it out. The adolescent's brain is not developed enough to really understand what was going on, how she was really feeling. She couldn't even really voice how she was feeling. And so in that moment, you have to step in and you have to almost be their voice for them, right? So in the counselor's office, advocating for them, right? In a doctor's office or a psychiatrist's office when they're trying to just give them more medications to make them not anxious. Sometimes that's advocating and stepping up and saying, "Listen, do we really need more medicines or should we find to the root of the problem?" But within that, you not only advocate for your child, but you have to advocate for yourself, right? As the mom, you can't forget who you are, and you have to take care of yourself in those moments as well so that you can come out stronger. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Advocating them for sure. How has your personal understanding of what it means to be a stronger or a strong mother evolved through your experience in writing this book?
So definitely like when you experience something like that, it's definitely not something that you ever set out or think that you're going to experience, right? I say this and I also mention this in the book that we were your traditional kind of all American family, right? Strong Christian home, two parents, been married for 25 years. And then we kind of checked off all the boxes that were, all American traditional home. And so when your daughter struggles with hers, you have to figure out and you almost have to kind of pivot, right, on how you're parenting, right? She was very different from my two boys. I couldn't parent her the same way that I parented the two boys.
Yes. And what practical steps? I think Miss Jennifer,
Mhm.
I think we are lagging a little bit. Miss Jen, what practical steps or mindset shift do you teach moms to help them find and use their voice effectively, especially when facing intimidating system?
So I do help teach through how to vet or how to navigate dealing with counselors. Right, all counselors are not the same.
Yes.
It's about figuring out who is going to work best for your child. What are their skill sets? Do they know how to do cognitive brain therapy or other, non-traditional modalities? I can also help you teach and work through dealing with psychiatrists and doctors. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been in medicine for 25 years. So for me, navigating the medicines and the different pills and all of those, navigating that was second nature for me, but it's not that way for most other moms.
What are the most common internal barriers like guilt, fear, or self doubt or exhaustion that hold moms back from advocating fiercely? And what's your battle plan for overcoming them?
So when you, as moms, our job is not just one task, right? As moms, we're pulled in so many different directions, being the household keeper, the scheduler, the taken to the doctor's office, picking up from school, working, all of those things. And as the mom, you sometimes just forget, right, that you have to take care of yourself. You need to be taking care of yourself because the mom guilt is very, very strong, especially when you have a teen that is struggling with mental health. You kind of constantly blame yourself. Like, had you picked up on a different sign or symptom, had you saw it earlier, had you stepped in, or had you not let her go to that friend's house, or whatever the trigger was for your teen, the guilt and the shame is very, very real. And one thing that I struggled with when before writing this book was that it was very isolating, right? And as a mom, you want to make sure, especially in now today's world with social media, that you have everything together and that everything is picture perfect on social media. But the isolation and the loneliness that comes from sometimes when you have a child that is really struggling, that's not something that you want to go and just talk about on social media or go to, coffee and just start telling everybody what's really going on, because there is a stigma with mental health, right? There is
There is.
judgment sometimes that comes from the diagnosis of anxiety or depression. And so the guilt you carry is immense. But my goal in writing the book is to empower moms and to let them know that there is hope. There is someone I can empathize and I can sympathize with them because I've walked that same path.
Miss Jen, how crucial is becoming an expert on your child's specific needs or challenges? What resources and tactics do you recommend for overwhelmed moms tackling this?
So, I mean, it's very crucial, right? I mean, sometimes moms need to step up and just have counseling for themselves, right? And so
Yes.
I am not a counselor and I'm not a therapist, but I do know how to navigate that world. So it's not just about finding counseling for your teen or for your child, but it's also for yourself. Sometimes we just need a quiet moment and somebody to hear us and how we feel in the moment, right? Um, it's also about just doing little things, taking a hot shower, buying yourself some flowers, something that brings you joy, that you can realize that there's more on the other end than just in the middle of that situation. Sometimes when we're right in the middle of a storm, the storm of life, it's really hard to see what's on the horizon, right? And sometimes you just need to take a moment to kind of reset. For me, that was taking 10 minutes a day and going to a quiet place. For me, that was my car, locking myself in my car because my kids didn't follow me to my car, or I didn't have dogs and other animals running around. So it was sitting in the quiet of my car, turning on some worship music and just taking that moment to breathe so that I could rejuvenate myself, so that I could go back in and pour into my daughter.
Miss Jen, how can moms intentionally build the supportive troops like your partner, family, friends, professionals, or other warrior moms they need?
So I have a community on my website, thewarriormomcoach.net. We have a VIP list that you can sign up for. We have a community that you can join for free. I also have free resources on there that give them some little tips that they can take, right? But finding the community, whether it's with me like a coach or it's your best friend, but you have to have somebody that can speak life back into you and build you up to give you that extra little step and vision of hope. Because when, like I said, when you're in the middle of the storm, sometimes it feels overwhelming, right? Like you're just going to sink. But we have to remember that there is hope and strength on the other side, but you have to find that person or persons that can really build you up in those moments.
Very well said, Miss Jen. Very well said. You emphasize thrive. What does thriving look and feel like for a warrior mom in the trenches? How is it different from just catching a break?
So when we thrive, okay, we have an internal joy and an internal peace about us. Our circumstances are not always going to be happy go lucky and everything's picture perfect, right? But thriving is finding the joy in everyday little life, right? There is joy in everything. The fact that we wake up in the morning or the sun is out or that we can smell a flower. I also believe in that having an attitude of gratitude and just being thankful for the little things. For me, it was so thankful for that my daughter woke up the next day and she could have a conversation with me, right? It's just finding the joy in the little things. Even if we were having a really bad day, what was something that I could be thankful for and joyful about? Because that breeds a different feeling on the inside, right? When you realize that not everything is terrible.
How do you refrain self care from a luxury to a non negotiable tactical necessity in the warrior mom battle plan?
So I don't think that self care has to be luxurious. I mean, certainly that is a fantastic option, right? I mean, certainly having a spa day or getting your nails done or your hair done is definitely a way to uplift your mood. But sometimes, again, it's just those quiet moments that reflect on self care, right? Washing your face, putting on a good moisturizer, being able to sit and read a book for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sitting and just enjoying some good music. It's all about that is self-care, right? Because it's doing something for you. And as moms, we often forget to take care of us. We're so busy taking care of everybody else. But one thing that I always talk about in the book is self care is not selfish, it is necessary in order for us to be able to take care of everybody else that we take care of. You know, our husbands, our spouses, our daughters, our sons, our mothers, our fathers, all of those people, all of the animals and pets that we have, all of that responsibility falls on us moms most of the time. And it's just finding whatever brings you joy and that is specific to you.
Miss Jen, as a warrior mom and an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Short-term goals are obviously to spread the word about the book. My goal in writing the book was is really to make an impact and to add value to women's lives. I really feel like I was called to write that book because mental health, especially when it comes to helping moms thrive, that is not something that is really talked about very often. So, in the short term, I want to spread the word about the book. I want the book to get into the hands of moms who need them and who need the book and who need that lifeline. Long term, I want to build a community of women so that we can uplift each other and that we can understand and have that common camaraderie. But and further coach women. Some days I would love to be a speaker, um, and even build a different type of medical practice where it's more functional and holistic, and we're dealing with the whole person, incorporating mind, body, and spirit into that care.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Jen, and looking forward for more and more success in life. Who knows, you have a follow up for this book. And what would be your piece of advice for those warrior mom out there?
There is purpose in your pain. Sometimes God uses us in the trenches or in the fire to refine us and to transform us. But in the midst of the storm or in the midst of in the fire, you are not alone.
You are not alone, people. Please read the book of Miss Jen so that you will be empowered. And what do you hope a mom carries with her long after reading your book? And what's the core mindset shift you want to instill?
I hope that moms can see that I have walked their path. Our paths may not be identical, but we share a commonality. We have walked the very hard road of mental health in our children. But on the other side of that, there is hope and there is purpose in the pain. Sometimes we don't know what that purpose is, and sometimes it comes later. But being able to watch your child thrive when you've advocated and you've taught them to advocate for themselves and also to help them overcome and then they're them thriving, that is it is so important, and it's just what you need as a mama to warm your little mama heart so that you can look back on the story, right? Everybody has a story, and we all need to use our stories to help someone else.
To help someone else, people, let's help each other. How do the challenges and required battle plans differ from the warrior moms facing additional layers of systemic bias, like racism, poverty, or disability stigma?
So I don't think being just a warrior mom is for one particular race or one socioeconomic status, right? Obviously, there's different layers in there in the type of counselors or things that you can find, but there are resources for every level out there, right? And I can help navigate some of those things for you. Um, But being a warrior mom, that is a personal decision and choice that you're going to stand up, you're going to show up, you're not going to quit. And when you get knocked back down, you're going to get right back up. When your kid gets knocked down, you're going to teach them to get up. You're going to be that fierce advocate. And that is not for one race or economic status, that is universal. Any mom can be a warrior mom.
Universal indeed. How does your book challenge the pervasive societal expectation that matters should silently sacrifice everything without complaint or support?
Well, and again, that's like in the book. That's why I am so outspoken about this. One is mental health is not really wanted to be talked about, right? People want to hide and don't want to talk about that mental health issues are on the rise, especially in our adolescent population, right? But as moms, we are not meant to carry every burden by ourselves. And that was one thing that I really realized throughout the journey with Chloe is that as a mom, her burden is not my burden to carry, right? She had her own struggles and the things that she had to overcome and she had to deal with through therapy and so on. But as moms, we don't have to carry their burden. We can help them with their burden. We can support them, can teach them, but we can't carry their burden. Our job is very, very big, and we have to take a moment to understand that we are not the source of our kids' pain, and we are not meant to carry their pain, but we are meant to love them through that pain.
Again, very well said, Miss Jan. Beautifully articulated. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and book 101 review in fifth season as well. Comedy 101 in second season, and my Food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my Movie 101 and Music 101. Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Jen, ultimately, what is your most urgent call to action for mothers everywhere? What's the first step you want every reader to take towards becoming a warrior mom who thrives?
Just take a moment for you every day, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. Just take a moment to breathe life back into yourself so that you can breathe life back into others. And always remember that you're not alone. There is help and support and resources on my website, and then the Facebook community that we're building, all of those. And together we can rise up and overcome these issues and these struggles together.
Miss Jenn Robb, thank you so much again for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your warrior mom rising?
Yeah. So my website is warriormomcoach.net. It's also on the book is live on Amazon, so you can buy the paperback if you're somebody that wants to hold the paperback in your hand. Warrior Mom Rising on Amazon. The Kindle version becomes available June 18th.
June 18, people, tune in for that. Let's support Miss Jenn Robb because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. Let's empower women all over the world. So, Miss Jenn, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for letting me be here. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.